You found the Creepster. Don't forget to close the blinds. A few weeks ago, my girlfriend and I went camping with a group of our friends. It's something we do pretty often, as most of us have vans or trucks that we like to take as our shelter. We were all going to meet up at a diner that was on the way to a lake one of our friends, Chris, was told about. Chris was a pretty wild guy and was always looking for thrills. He would talk to anyone within a 10-foot vicinity. Apparently, he met someone while surfing who told him about this lake and how weird stuff happens while staying near it. I asked him what that meant, and he told me.
I don't know, man. The guy just said there are really cool lights and stuff that you can see at night.
I didn't think much of it, and Lindsay was excited to check out a new camping spot. We arrived at the diner early Friday morning. One of the couples was already there and waiting to order. Lindsay and I sat down, and Lindsay asked how far the drive was from the diner.
I think we have about another hour or so,
said Kelly. We had already been driving for 2 hours, so I was not looking forward to the remainder of the drive. After settling into the booth, I started to notice how quiet it was out there in the country. Living in a small town seemed nice, although the people at the diner seemed somewhat slower than I was used to. The waitress came to take our order, and Lindsay leaned over to me to point out the waitress's hand. All of her fingernails were dark black. They looked like they were about to fall off. I nodded and tried to get her to stop being rude.
Are you visiting?
The waitress asked. Lindsay explained that we were camping at the nearby lake and how it's our first time up here. The waitress nodded in a way that made the whole table feel uncomfortable. There was an awkward silence.
What can I get you?
The waitress interjected. We have 4 more coming, I explained. The waitress just slowly turned around and walked back behind the counter. We all kind of gave each other weird looks and eventually just laughed it off. The rest of the group arrived and we waved them over to our table. The first thing we hear is,
Dude, did you see that lady's hands?
Chris also noticed the black fingernails. I told him we had already noticed, and we went about the rest of our meal. Chris was going off about the cool lights we were going to see and how this old surfer guy, who was actually pretty creepy, told him we had to check it out.
This guy said it's the only place in the world you can see anything like this,
exclaimed Chris.
Then why isn't more famous, and why is this town so dead?
Asked Lily.
Everyone keeps it a secret. That's why we are so lucky that I talked to that old guy.
Everyone gave Chris a hard time, and we just figured it would be a cool camping trip like normal. As we got up to leave the diner, a man approached us asking if we were camping at the lake this weekend. His demeanor was as off as the waitress's. Every word coming out of his mouth seemed forced, almost like he was learning to talk for the first time. Yes, sir, I said. It was just Lindsay, Todd, Kelly, and I remaining in the diner. The man's head slowly and unevenly turned to look right at Lindsay.
Do you like the water?
He said in the creepiest way imaginable. Lindsay was caught off guard, so I just said, "Sorry, man, we have to go," and shuffled everyone out.
What the fuck was that?
Said Todd.
I don't know, but that was creepy as fuck. Did you see his hands?
Said Lily as we began heading towards our cars.
His fingernails were black like the waitress's.
We all kind of just did a "let's get out of here" and went to our cars and began driving. The lake looked like it was from a postcard. The surrounding foliage was greener than anything I had ever seen, and the water was crystal clear all the way to the bottom. I had no idea how this spot was not packed on a beautiful summer weekend. We began setting up camp. Lindsay and I's setup was pretty straightforward, and we finished before the others. I wanted to explore a bit to get familiar with surrounding area. I found a trail that looked to go up a small hill that overlooked the lake. After a couple of minutes, I began to notice small engravings on the trees lining the trail. I stopped to look at a couple, but they were just unknown symbols to me.
Wait for me,
Lindsay shouted, running up the trail out of breath. "Look at these symbols," I said as she got closer. "They're on like every tree."
Ooh, it's like the Blair Witch.
Or we discovered some sort of ancient burial ground or something. Riley and Jackson caught up with us on the trail. We showed them the symbols and asked what they thought.
These look exactly the same as the ones we saw on that weird sign coming into town.
Jackson said to Riley.
I want to forget about that sign.
She said with a turned-up nose.
What was it?
Lindsay asked.
Some sort of religious thing talking about some messed up shit?
It wasn't that bad. Just like old small town weird shit.
Okay. Well, you can go into town tomorrow for supplies while I stay here?
I would say I'm creeped out, but the vibes of this place are too good. It feels amazing out here, I said. Although it was weird, we all agreed that this was an awesome spot. We continued up the trail for a while longer. When we approached the top, that's when we all began to really accept that something was off. There was some sort of stone altar with the same symbols from the trees and sign going around the perimeter. Dark splatter marks stained the stone and ground all around it.
Holy shit,
yelled Jackson.
I'm not staying here for 2 nights.
We all looked around the site in somewhat of a shock. This looked like something out of a horror movie. None of us had seen anything like it before, and we were all pretty experienced outdoorsmen. After some time looking around, we all talked and wondered if we should leave. "Let's go talk to the others," I said. We got back to camp to find everyone set up and having a good time. The other 2 guys were drinking beers and the girls were swimming in the lake.
guys, we found some weird shit up there,
said Jackson.
Weirder than the people at the diner?
Todd said jokingly. Like satanic ritual stuff, I said.
Whoa, I want to see that.
Chris shouted from inside his camper van. Riley was getting more and more upset.
I think we should find another spot. Maybe even go to another town.
No way. This is all stuff the old dude was telling me about. It's part of the experience. It's like a haunted camping trip. Just grab a beer and relax. There are 8 of us. There are probably only 8 people in that whole town.
The 4 of us from the hill looked at each other and talked about moving sites without the others briefly, but decided on staying and trying to have a good time. I grabbed a beer and sat by the fire looking out onto the lake.
Lindsay, Riley, come get in the water. It's amazing. Don't waste your time with the boring boys,
shouted Lily from the lake. The 2 girls on shore got into their swimsuits and headed towards the water. It looked as though the whole lake had a current to it. When we first arrived, it was glass. Hours passed, and I had drank a little more than I wanted to. It was getting dark, and I realized that the girls still hadn't come back to the fire. They were just either floating or standing in the lake. All of us guys decided to take the short walk to the lake and see what was up. The girls seemed off, like out of it in some way.
What are you ladies doing?
Said Chris flirtatiously. They all just slowly turned towards us and sort of mumbled. Chris ran in and playfully tackled Lily into the water. The splash echoed strangely, like the lake swallowed the sound too fast. The rest of us hung back at the edge, but I noticed something odd. The water wasn't rippling right. Even as they moved, it was gliding around them, like something under the surface was controlling it. Then I saw it, a faint light, deep below the surface, pulsing, shifting colors like bioluminescence, but wrong, like it was reacting to our presence, feeding off it. Lindsay, still waist deep in the water, looked back at me and smiled, but it wasn't her smile. It was too still, too wide. We went back to the fire eventually, but Lily stayed behind. She said she wanted to float under the stars. Lindsay almost stayed with her, but I pulled her away. Her hands were freezing. She whispered something as I wrapped a towel around her.
I like the water,
she said, voice flat. That night, we saw the lights, flickering across the lake like fireflies, but slow and hypnotic. They didn't reflect in the water. They moved through it, and above it. Chris thought it was part of the experience. Riley wanted to leave immediately. I just stared, feeling like the lake was breathing. Around 2 a.m., I woke up and Lindsay was gone. I found her at the water's edge, standing ankle deep, slowly scooping handfuls of water and drinking it. Her eyes were glassy, her lips pale. I dragged her back to the tent, but she didn't fight me. She just kept whispering.
It's so warm down there.
By morning, Lily was gone. No note, no shoes, no ripples on the lake. Just her towel folded on a rock like she never existed. We freaked out, searched for hours. Nothing, not a footprint. Jackson and Todd offered to drive into town to call the sheriff, but I knew it was pointless. The town was in on this. Riley told us what the sign said again, this time more clearly.
The watcher in the water blesses those who feed him. The light accepts the willing.
While the guys were gone, we noticed people in the woods. Far across the lake, 8 or 9 figures in robes, standing still, watching, not moving. I thought they were trees at first until one tilted its head. Riley wanted to leave right then. So did I. Chris refused. He said Lily probably went to town and that we're all just freaking out. He even tried swimming again. That's when he screamed. He came back with a long, thin scratch across his back. Not a cut, a siphon, like something sucked across him in one straight motion. Kelly had the same mark on her ankle. Todd and Jackson returned hours later, pale and silent. We asked what happened, but they just shook their heads. Finally, Todd spoke.
The people there, they're not sick. They're rotting, but still walking.
Jackson added.
They said we wouldn't understand. Said this place is sacred, and that we were chosen.
That's when Lindsay stood up and pointed to the lake.
It's time. He's hungry again.
That night, Riley vanished. 1 second she was there, then gone. No one heard anything. We didn't sleep. We stayed huddled by the fire, listening to things moving around our camp. At sunrise, we found the cult had left something at the water's edge, a bundle of sticks, a torn piece of Riley's shirt, and a small jar of something dark and chunky. Chris finally snapped. He jumped into his van and peeled out down the road. We never saw him again. I don't know how we made it out. Todd drove nonstop until we were back in cell range. We tried calling the cops. They said there's no Pine Hollow Lake near that town. No diner either. I've checked maps, forums, records. There's nothing. Just one thread I found late one night. A post from years ago. If you see the lights, don't drink the water. If your fingers turn black, you waited too long. And if she smiles at you from the water, it's already too late. The light below is always hungry. I don't know if this is going to help anyone. Honestly, I'm not even sure if posting this is safe. But I can't keep it in anymore. Something's wrong with me. It started 3 weeks ago. Me, my girlfriend Bree, and our friends Marco and Liz went camping in Pine Hollow. Deep woods, no cell reception, just off a barely marked service road about 30 miles from anything. Marco found it on Reddit. He said it was
Off the grid and weird as hell.
We should have turned around at the gas station. The old guy at the counter saw our gear and said,
"Don't cross the grid after dark."
Didn't explain it, just stared at us. Marco laughed it off. We crossed that bridge an hour later, set up camp right at sunset, ridge behind us, woods on all sides. It felt wrong. I didn't say anything, figured I was just being paranoid. We drank, roasted marshmallows. Bree told a story about a girl who drowned in a lake and calls phones from the water. We laughed. Then we passed out around 1 a.m. At 2:17 I woke up. I remember the time exactly because I checked my watch. It wasn't a sound that woke me up. It was the lack of sound. No bugs, no wind, no crackling from the fire. Just this stillness. Then I heard it. Wind chimes. Not close. Just drifting from somewhere down the hill. I unzipped the tent just a little. That's when I saw him. Down in the trees, maybe 50 yards away, there was a man. Still, not walking, just standing there holding a lantern. It gave off this orange glow, but not like a normal flame. It flickered wrong, like it pulsed, almost like it was alive. He wasn't moving, not breathing, just staring. I couldn't see his face. Wide-brimmed hat, long coat, too tall to be normal. I don't know how long I stared, but then he tilted his head, slowly, like he knew I was watching. I ducked back inside, shaking. Woke up Bree, Liz, Marco. I whispered, "There's someone out there. Don't look. Don't look at the lantern man." Marco ignored me. He walked out of the tent like he was sleepwalking. Liz followed. Bree grabbed my arm. I think she believed me, but it didn't matter. They'd already seen him. The light flickered again, brighter this time, and then it was gone. No one slept. By sunrise, the tent was slashed open, not torn, slashed like with a knife, and Bree was gone. No signs of struggle, just her shoes placed neatly by the tree line. We screamed her name. We searched until our voices gave out. Eventually, a ranger found us wandering by the road. They called in dogs, helicopters, nothing, not a trace. The only thing they found was one cracked lantern, buried in the leaves, still warm. After that, everything blurred. The rangers questioned us, but we weren't right. Marco stopped speaking entirely. Liz kept whispering,
Don't look. Don't look. Don't look.
And me. Every time I close my eyes, I see the glow. They ran tests. No drugs, no trauma they could explain, but we all said the same thing. He only comes when you look. I don't know what he is. A ghost? A demon? Some people online think it's a tulpa, something created by belief. But I don't think he was waiting for us. I think he was hunting. And the worst part, I think Bree looked too long. And now, I think he's still watching me. If you ever hear wind chimes in the woods, don't look. If you see a light in the trees that shouldn't be there, don't look. And if you already did, I'm sorry. He knows you now.